All right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at Stellar Lumens.
Stellar Lumens.
Or XLM, as they say in the streets.
On the blockchain, yeah.
On the blockchain streets. So, I think the listener submitted this one because they're maybe new to crypto.
Okay.
They want to kind of understand what Stellar Lumens is and maybe how it's different from other cryptocurrencies.
Sure.
So that's our mission today, to break it down nice and simple. Hopefully we can make it make sense.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with just like the real basics? Like, what is Stellar Lumens?
Well, first, I think it's important to know that Stellar and Lumens are two different things.
Okay, two different things.
Stellar is the network.
Okay.
Lumens is the token on the network.
Got it.
It's like if you're familiar with like Ethereum is the network, Ether is the token.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that. It's often used interchangeably, but they're two separate things.
Okay, that's a good distinction. So Stellar is the network. Lumens is the like coin or the token that's on the network.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're also seeing XLM sometimes.
That's the ticker symbol, just like how Google is Goog or Apple is AAPL.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the ticker symbol for lumens on exchanges.
Okay. So if we were looking at like a market chart or something and we saw XLM, we know that's lumens.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. So then how does this work? Like, what is this whole Stellar network?
So Stellar's main purpose is to connect the traditional financial system with the crypto world.
Okay, so it's not necessarily trying to be like its own completely separate thing.
No.
It's trying to like bridge the two.
Exactly. It's a bridge.
Okay.
And how it does that is through something called tokenization.
Ooh, tokenization.
Tokenization, yeah. So tokenization is basically taking a real-world asset,
Okay.
like the US dollar,
Okay.
and putting it on the blockchain.
Okay, so like a digital representation of a US dollar.
Exactly.
Okay.
Interesting. So you can have a token that represents the US dollar on Stellar,
Okay.
and then you can transact with that token all around the world.
Okay, so I'm already seeing like, okay, this is a little bit different than something like Bitcoin, just kind of like Bitcoin. It's just its own thing.
Right.
But this is like trying to connect to like real world currencies.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So then how do they make sure that, like, if I have a Stellar Lumen or whatever, a bunch of Stellar Lumens, how do we know that that actually represents, like, real U.S. dollars somewhere?
So that's done through entities called anchors.
Anchors.
Anchors, yeah. So anchors are basically like regulated financial institutions that hold the actual asset.
Okay.
So let's say there's an anchor for the U.S. dollar. They will hold the U.S. dollars in a bank account.
Okay.
And then issue the equivalent token on Stellar.
Okay, so they're like the guarantors. They're the ones holding the actual real money.
Exactly.
And then they're issuing these tokens on Stellar based on how much they have.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. So it's almost like a stable coin in a way.
It's very similar to a stable coin.
Yeah.
But a stable coin is usually just backed one-to-one.
Yeah.
U.S. dollar. Whereas on Stellar,
Yeah.
you can have tokens that represent any asset.
Okay, so it doesn't have to just be U.S. dollars. It could be
It could be euros. It could be pesos.
Chrysos. Okay.
It could be anything.
Interesting. So this is cool because then what you're telling me is like I could theoretically like send somebody in Mexico
Yeah.
like pesos directly without having to like go through an exchange.
Exactly.
Without having to pay crazy fees.
That's right. And that's one of the main features of Stellar is the low fees.
Okay.
It costs 0.00001 XLM
Okay.
to do a transaction.
Which is basically nothing.
Which is basically nothing, yeah.
Okay, so that's one of its big selling points.
Correct.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm seeing here in the notes that we have something about atomic swaps.
Atomic swaps.
Is that right?
That's another feature of Stellar.
Okay. What is an atomic swap? It sounds kind of scary.
It's not as scary as it sounds.
Okay.
Basically, an atomic swap is a way to exchange different tokens on the Stellar network
Okay.
without having to go through a centralized exchange.
Okay.
So let's say you have a US dollar token and you want to exchange it for a euro token.
Yeah.
You can do that with an atomic swap.
Okay.
And the way it works is it's either a complete swap or it doesn't happen at all.
So no like in between.
No, in between.
Okay. So it's like either you get the whole thing or nothing happens.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So what I'm gathering so far is we have this network called Stellar. And it has its own token called Lumens, or SLM.
Right.
And it's trying to connect real-world currencies to this blockchain.
Yes.
Through tokenization.
Correct.
And these things called anchors
Yes.
are like the guarantors of the system.
Right.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But how does this all actually work? Like, what is the technology behind it?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more technical.
All right, bring on the technical.
But I'll try to keep it simple.
Please.
Stellar uses a consensus mechanism called Federated Byzantine Agreement,
Okay.
or FBA.
FBA.
FBA. And basically what that means is it's a way for all the nodes on the network
Uh-huh.
to agree on the state of the ledger.
Okay.
So it's a way to keep the network secure and make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Okay, so everyone's agreeing on like what transactions happened,
Yes.
what the balances are,
Correct.
all that stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. And this FBA is what makes it different from like a proof of work system,
Correct.
like Bitcoin.
Stellar does not use proof of work.
Okay.
It uses FBA.
Gotcha. So this is like a different way
It's a
to make
different
sure the network is secure.
Exactly.
True.
And it's
Got it.
actually much more energy efficient
Oh, okay.
than proof of work.
So it's not using like tons of electricity.
It's not as energy intensive.
Okay. That's good.
Yes.
That's always a good thing. So I'm trying to like wrap my head around this whole FBA thing, getting there. But what are the benefits of using this system? Like, why did Stellar choose this instead of something else?
Well, FBA has a few advantages.
Okay.
One is it's very fast.
Okay.
Stellar can process transactions in like 3 to 5 seconds.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
Way faster than like a bank transfer.
Oh, yeah. Much faster.
Okay.
It's also very scalable,
Okay.
so it can handle a large number of transactions.
Okay. So like as it gets more popular, it can like keep up with the demand.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's also very secure
Okay.
because it's very difficult for someone to attack the network.
Interesting. So like a hacker couldn't just come in and like mess everything up.
Right. It's very difficult to do that.
Okay. So fast, scalable, secure.
Yes.
Those are all good things.
These are all good things.
Especially for something that's dealing with like money.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm starting to understand like the nuts and bolts of this whole Stellar network and how it works. But why should the average person care about this? Like, why is this important?
Well, I think Stellar has the potential to really revolutionize the way we think about money and the way we use money.
In what way?
Well, for one thing, it can make sending money across borders much cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
So if you're sending money to family overseas, you can do it with Stellar for a fraction of the cost.
Okay.
And it will arrive much faster.
So that's huge for like remittances and stuff.
Huge for remittances.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can also help to give people access to financial services who don't currently have them.
Okay.
So in many parts of the world, people don't have access to bank accounts.
Right.
Or they don't have access to loans.
Yeah.
And Stellar can help to provide those services.
Interesting. So like banking the unbanked kind of thing.
Exactly. Banking the unbanked.
Okay.
And it can also be used for things like micropayments.
Micropayments?
Yeah. So if you want to send someone a very small amount of money,
Okay.
you can do that with Stellar.
Okay. So like even like fractions of a cent.
Fractions of a cent.
Okay. That's cool.
And that opens up a lot of possibilities for new business models.
Okay. Wow. So this is like starting to sound pretty revolutionary.
It's pretty exciting.
It's pretty exciting. Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to see the potential here. It's like you said, it's not just about like making money.
Right.
It's about like changing the way the financial system works.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm sold. What else do we need to know about Stellar?
There's a lot more to it than just that, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, this is all super interesting, but like I said, I'm still trying to like really wrap my head around how this would actually work in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's say I want to send, I don't know, like $50 to my grandma in Italy.
Okay.
How would I actually do that using Stellar?
So the first thing you would need to do is find an anchor.
Okay. An
anchor that supports U.S. dollars.
Okay.
Because remember, anchors are the ones that hold the real world asset.
Right, right.
And issue the token on Stellar.
Okay, so I need to find an anchor that has U.S. dollars because that's what I'm trying to send.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And there are a number of different anchors out there.
Okay.
You know, you can kind of shop around and see which one is best for you.
Okay, so like different companies.
Different companies, yeah.
Okay.
And once you find an anchor, you would create an account with them.
Okay.
And you would deposit your 50 U.S. dollars.
Okay, so like I'm giving them my money.
You're giving them your money,
Okay.
and then in return, they would issue you 50 U.S. dollar tokens on Stellar.
Okay.
So now you have these tokens that represent your 50 U.S. dollars.
Okay, so it's like I'm trading my dollars for these tokens.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then once you have those tokens, you can send them to your grandma in Italy.
And how do I do that?
Most anchors have like a platform or an app
Okay.
that you can use
Okay.
to send and receive tokens.
Okay. So it's like similar to like if I was using like Venmo or something.
Yeah, very similar.
Instead of sending dollars, I'm sending these tokens.
You're sending the token.
Gotcha.
And so you would just enter your grandma's Stellar address.
Okay, wait, Stellar address, what's that?
So every account on Stellar has a unique address.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of like an email address.
Okay, so like a long string of letters and numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I need to get my grandma's Stellar address.
You need to get her Stellar address.
Okay.
And then you would just enter the amount of tokens you want to send.
Okay, so in this case, 50.
50 US dollar tokens.
Got it.
And then you would hit send.
Okay, and then it just goes to her?
And then it goes to her.
Just like that?
Just like that. Yeah.
Wow.
And because Stellar's so fast,
Yeah.
it would probably arrive in a few seconds.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's way faster than like a bank transfer.
Way faster.
And probably way cheaper too, right?
And much cheaper. Yeah. Remember, the fees are tiny.
Yeah. 0.00001 XLM.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is starting to make a lot more sense now.
Good.
Like I can actually see how this could be used in the real world.
Yeah.
But what about my grandma? Like she's in Italy. She needs euros.
Right.
How does that work?
So that's where the decentralized exchange comes in.
Okay, the DEX.
The DEX.
The one we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So when you send your grandma those 50 US dollar tokens, the DX will automatically convert them to euros.
Automatically.
Yeah.
Okay, how does it know to do that?
Well, your grandma's wallet will be set up
okay.
to receive euros.
Okay.
So the DX knows that it needs to convert the US dollar tokens to gyros.
So it's like smart enough to know what currency she needs.
Exactly.
And it just does it automatically.
Automatically.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So basically I'm sending her US dollar tokens.
Right.
But she's receiving euros.
She's receiving euros.
And it all happens like behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. You don't have to do anything.
She doesn't have to do anything.
No.
It just happens.
Just happens.
This is blowing my mind.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about like sending money to family. But what are some other like real world use cases for Stellar?
Well, one of the big ones is remittances.
Remittances?
Yeah, so like we were talking about sending money to family overseas.
Right.
That's a huge use case for Stellar.
Okay.
Because like I said, it's much cheaper and faster
Yeah.
than traditional methods.
Okay, so like people who are working in one country and sending money back home.
Exactly.
Stellar could be a really good option for that.
A great option.
Okay.
What else?
Another big one is microfinance.
Microfinance.
Yeah, so microfinance is basically giving small loans
Okay.
to people in developing countries
Okay.
to help them start businesses
Gotcha.
or to help them improve their lives.
Okay. And how would Stellar be used for that?
Well, because Stellar has such low fees,
Yeah.
it makes it possible to send very small amounts of money.
Okay. Like micropayments.
Exactly, like
Yeah,
micropayments.
makes
So
sense.
you could give someone a loan for like $10
Okay.
and it wouldn't cost them an arm and a leg in fees.
Okay. So it's like making these small loans more accessible.
Exactly.
Interesting. So Stellar is like a good option for microfinance.
Yeah, because of the low fees.
Correct.
Okay, what else?
Another use case is for things like supply chain management.
Supply chain management. Okay.
Yeah, so basically tracking products as they move around the world.
Okay.
So you could use Stellar to track a product from the factory all the way to the consumer.
And that would be helpful because why?
Well, it would increase transparency.
Okay.
And it would help to prevent fraud.
Gotcha. So like we'd know exactly where something came from.
Exactly.
And that it's like the real deal.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. So this is like way more than just sending money to your grandma in Italy.
A lot more than that.
A lot more than that. Yeah, this is like a whole new way of thinking about finance.
It is.
It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the positives of Stellar, but are there any like downsides or challenges that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, like any technology, Stellar has its challenges.
Okay.
One of the big ones is adoption.
Adoption.
So basically getting people to actually use it.
Okay, so like right now it's still relatively small.
Relatively small. Yeah.
Okay, so it needs to like grow its user base.
Exactly. It needs to gain more traction.
Okay, what else?
Another challenge is regulation.
Regulation, yeah, that's a big one for crypto in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because governments are still trying to figure out how to regulate crypto.
Right.
And that can get it some uncertainty.
Okay. So like the rules could change.
The rules could change.
Okay. And that could affect Stellar?
It could affect Stellar.
Okay. So that's something to like keep an eye on?
Definitely.
Okay. Any other challenges?
Another one is competition.
Competition.
Yeah, there are a lot of other crypto projects out there
Right.
that are trying to do similar things.
Okay. So Stellar's not the only one in this space.
No, it's not the only one.
Okay. So it needs to like find a way to stand out.
Exactly. It needs to differentiate itself.
Okay. So adoption, regulation, competition.
Those are some of the big ones.
Okay. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
There are some challenges.
There are always
But
challenges.
it sounds like Stellar is like well-positioned to overcome them.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it has a lot of things going for it.
It does.
Fast transactions, low fees,
Uh-huh.
a strong team,
Yeah.
a growing community.
It's a very promising project.
It is. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about what Stellar is,
Yes.
how it works,
Uh-huh.
some of its use cases,
Yes.
and some of the challenges it faces.
Correct.
I'm feeling pretty good about this. I said I came in not really knowing much about Stellar,
Uh-huh.
but now I'm like kind of a believer.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So I guess the last question I have is like, what's next for Stellar?
Well, I think the future is very bright for Stellar. I think we're going to see more and more adoption, more and more businesses using it, more and more people using it.
And hopefully more regulation that's like clear and supportive.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
I think we're also going to see a lot of innovation on top of Stellar.
Okay.
So new applications, new use cases.
Okay, so like things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly, things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is very exciting.
So it sounds like Stellar is like at the beginning of its journey.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think the best is yet to come.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too. It's going to be really interesting to watch how this all plays out.
It is, yeah. Okay, so let's say our listener is like totally on board with Stellar. They're like, I want to get involved. I want to learn more. I want to maybe even like buy some lumens. What should they do?
So the first thing I would say is do your own research.
Okay. Always good advice.
Always good advice. Don't just take my word for it.
Right.
There are a lot of great resources out there.
Okay, like what?
The Stellar Development Foundation has a really good website.
Okay.
With a lot of information about Stellar.
Okay, so like their official website.
Yeah, the official website.
Gotcha.
There are also a lot of great articles and videos online.
Right.
Just do a Google search for Stellar Lumens.
Right.
And you'll find a ton of stuff.
Okay, so do your research, learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then if you're comfortable,
yeah,
you can buy some lumens.
Okay, and how do you do that?
There are a number of different cryptocurrency exchanges.
Okay.
Where you can buy lumens.
Okay, so like Coinbase,
Binance.
Kraken, all those.
All the major exchanges.
Okay.
You can also buy lumens directly from some anchors.
Okay.
So that's another option.
Okay, so figure out where you want to buy it. Create an account.
And
buy some lumens. All right. And then I'm officially part of the Stellar community.
You're officially part of the Stellar community.
I love it. Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
This was awesome.
It was fun.
I learned a ton.
Me too.
I'm sure our listener learned a ton.
Also.
So thank you so much for coming on the show and like breaking all this down for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another deep dive.
See ya.
I'll see you next time.